Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're back once again with the Vampire Coast Early Access, going to be taking a look at another battle between myself and Gojira. I am once again at the helm of the Vampire Coast, this time taking on the Greenskins, and right off the bat we've got action with Vanguard shenanigans and ranged units already exchanging volleys. Let's get to the builds and have a look at what we're dealing with here. Very briefly, my army, the backbone, going to be pretty familiar. 5 units of zombies with pole arms. This is going to be a pretty standard backbone for a lot of Vampire Coast armies, I think. Zombies with pole arms, just pretty cost effective, good defensive units in general to give you some melee meat to chew on. We've also got 4 units of deck droppers. This is one of the other very powerful ranged units for the Vampire Coast. One of the most powerful, in fact. These guys do a ton of armor-piercing missile damage. In fact, the handgunner variant specifically is what we're looking at here. There are a few other variants of deck droppers. These guys fly around, these giant bats carrying these haggard, sad zombies that have their guns ready, and they shoot and do a ton of damage. Speaking of doing a ton of damage, we've got these guys here, deck gunners. This is actually the Regiment of Renown Shade Wraith gunners in particular. These guys are ethereal. Obviously regular deck gunners would not be, but check out that ethereal chin there. Wow, what a beaut. And these guys do magic damage, of course, being ethereal. Heavy armor-piercing damage at long range is the name of the game for deck gunners. These guys also have Discourage as part of their Regiment of Renown loadout. Of course, Luther Harkon leading the way for this particular force. Let's briefly have a look at his abilities as well. He's got this Disrupted, so anybody he shoots is going to have plus 50% miscast chance and minus 10% physical resistance, which is going to be very useful against these Savage Orcs against us. He's also got a number of abilities that make him kind of the ultimate countercaster. He is going to be an auto pick in a multitude of matchups, especially like the Vampire Counts, for example. Luther Harkon is amazing in that matchup. In terms of his abilities, obviously being up on the Terrorgeist, he's got that Death Shriek. He's got area of effect, magic resistance for himself and everyone else in that area, every other ally, I should say. He's also got Power Siphon. This is another reason why you take him against the Greenskins in particular. He can stop Wa just for free. You know, doesn't cost very little to bring this ability. You've only got 4 charges, but still takes away a bit of vigor and adds 15 seconds to ability recharge time. We're going to pop that over on Skarsnik very shortly. Meanwhile, yeah, we've also got Hornswaggle here. I highlighted this in my last video, but essentially a single target debuff. You can be used on any unit, not only characters, which makes it better than something like Elseef, although it is objectively, you know, not quite as devastating as Elseef in terms of its stat debuff. But still a very good ability. Also got All Hands Way, and that is going to be extra leadership and armor-piercing damage in an area of effect, kind of the standard die, if you will, of the Vampire Coast. And we've also got his item, Slon Gold. So this greatly reduces power recharge rate, only castable on casters, but we are going to throw that on this little Night Gabo Shaman over here in just a minute. And essentially that's going to ruin their Winds of Magic recharge rate so that they can't cast any more spells. And, you know, that plus this miscast chance thing, plus the ability recharge thing, means that Luther Harkon is the best countercaster in the game currently, I would say. And he's going to be just devastating against caster-type characters. And already you can see we've started to, oh, not quite, we're going to start to drop some of those abilities here. You can see there the Power Siphon goes on Skarsnik there, and we're also going to drop the Slon Gold on the Night Goblin Shaman. You can see the Spiders charging in, it's Ragnarok Spider for Gojira, and the Shade Wraith Gunner's doing a ton of damage, not quite able to rout off all the Goblin archers there, but Harkon charges in. We're going to drop that Hornswaggle on this Ragnarok here, so you can see it's a bit debuffed there. Melee defense down to only 3, so we're going to be consistently making hits with all of our attacks here. If that wasn't enough, I've got these 2 characters right here on Crabs. We've got the Gunnery Wight and the Vampire Fleet Captain. Of course, since Luther Harkon has completely lost his mind, he can't cast spells, so the Fleet Captain is the caster. She's got Lore of Vampires here. She's carrying Invocation of Nehek and Dance Macabre. She's also got Taunt, which is stackable with Hornswaggle, basically like a lesser version, but because it's a different effect, you can in fact stack them. The Gunnery Wight is sort of a support type character, a support ranged character. He's got his little gun there. He can do a missile attack. Being on the crab makes him nice and tanky. Both of these characters nice and tanky with armor-piercing damage in melee because of the crab. And yeah, he's also got this more powder. He can replenish the ammo 3 times, castable on a single target. He can replenish the ammo of a unit. So that's particularly very powerful on low ammo units like these deck droppers, for example, that will do a ton of missile damage. But just in general, Harkon plus this Death Star of crabs is going to just massacre this Ragnarok Spider with all of the buffs and debuffs and everything layering on top of each other. Ragnarok Spider's going to get just savaged and routed off. Skarsnik also not doing great here. He's got the taunt. Granted, Skarsnik does have anti-large AP, but in terms of Skarsnik himself, was hoping to see maybe some changes. We'll have to do a deep dive on him and see if he got any love in this particular patch. But the deck droppers have moved back. Obviously, the biggest danger to them is being shot at by these goblin archers, so we're going to try and stay out of range as much as possible. They are pretty quick, 90 speed, so they definitely have the speed to pull away. Terrorgeist also has 90 speed, and these flying units are going to be some of the few units for the Vampire Coast that actually have the speed, you know, like more than 50 speed, like faster than most infantry level speed. So Terrorgeist, of course, incredibly powerful. It's worth noting Harkon doesn't actually have anti-large on his Terrorgeist. Most Terrorgeists do have anti-large, but he actually does not. But yeah, you can see the Shade Wraith Gunners are getting bogged down here in the back line and just cut down. They had been able to rout off some units early on, but the Chariot and the Squig Hoppers coming in, able to finish them off. A lot of the zombies suffering badly, obviously, to Savage Orcs. Savage Orcs, DPS infantry in general is going to be pretty good against the Vampire Coast. As long as you don't get shot up too much on the approach, you can beat the brakes off of zombies pretty easily, and their line will just crumble, leaving their elite units in kind of an ocean of enemies, which is never a good situation to be in. You can see these crabs are starting to face that situation. The 2 characters on crabs, as they get a bit surrounded here. Thankfully, we do have some healing. You know, the Vampire Fleet Captain has hunger, so she'll regenerate as she's in melee here. And yeah, Luther Harkon comes down as well. The deck gunners are, the deck droppers are trying to finish off the Ragnarok here. It does look like it's going to go down, and with that out of the way, balance power does shift a little bit in my favor. Things are honestly still pretty close. Skarsnik had come in and taken a ton of damage and been routed away, but he has come back. That being said, we're keeping that power siphon up long enough that Skarsnik just can't bring his Wa to bear. He's never been able to cast it throughout this whole battle, and that really is the power of Luther Harkon. You know, beyond being a countercaster character, I'd also say that he is the Wa stopper of the Vampire Coast. A few factions have Wa stopper abilities. I mean, obviously these guys have lore of vampires, so you could always just bring like Curse of Years, for example, but the fact that Harkon has 90 speed, he can just fly over. Like if your opponent brings Azag, Azag is big time screwed in the air against against Harkon, so pro tip, don't bring Azag, especially in the air. Also, probably don't bring Wurzag in this matchup either, because he'll get torn apart by Harkon. In fact, this matchup is one that I'm going to have to theory craft around a little bit. Maybe you go with like a full-on Vanguard list, and you just hide your Lord in the back corner somewhere so that you can actually cast Wa at some point. You know, I don't know. We'll have to do some theory crafting around this, but certainly Harkon incredibly powerful here. Has taken a lot of damage. Gojira's done a great job of trying to focus him down, but because these Goblin Archers have been focusing on Harkon this whole time, that means these deck droppers have taken no damage at all and have been free to fire, you know, completely away. That being said, I kind of understand. Looks like Spite of the Bad Moon going down here, actually giving some of these units a missile block chance that are going to be in that area of effect. Thankfully for me, the tanky crab's able to hold the ground game here long enough for these air units to get the work done. But, yeah, I mean, Harkon's super duper expensive. In his current loadout, he's more expensive than all 4 units of these deck droppers combined. So I definitely understand Gojira focusing all his resources on trying to take down Harkon, because not only, I mean, obviously he's the Lord, so you take him down, you know, then you put a big leadership dent in a faction that has relatively low leadership to begin with. But, I mean, of course, he also has the abilities that are going to be just continuously debuffing you and keeping you from being able to use your own abilities, right? So, yeah, I would definitely say that I understand him trying to focus down Harkon. Unfortunately, that has left these deck droppers just free to fire with impunity, and you can see them just mowing down units in the desert here as they try and run away. They're going to slowly turn and just start to focus on different parts of the battle here. And, yeah, we'll see who they decide to shoot at next, but looks like they're going to be shooting into this blob here. as the crabs continue to hold out, and that's definitely the benefit of the crabs. They are super duper tanky, hard to kill, good melee defense, good armor piercing damage, and especially with multiple crabs kind of hanging out in the same pocket, they can get some good work done. Huge terror route going down. You can hear the Greenskins as they flee in terror away from the Terrorgeist. Most of these units are at their healing cap, but the Greenskin leadership is just not going to be able to hold up, especially as Scarsnake just is the next gobbo to get gunned down in the desert here. And yeah, well, poor gobbo. Poor gobbo. Rest in peace. Yep, the gunners gunned him down in the middle of the desert, and now the rest of the goblins are wanting to rout. Once again, I'll draw your attention to the fact that the replay timer is now counting up. Big thanks to CA for a nice little quality of life change for a multiplayer caster like myself. Much appreciated. Big thanks, of course, to CA for giving me early access as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this battle, and I'm going to keep bringing you plenty of Vampire Counts early access content in the coming days, so stay tuned for more. We're going to be diving into some campaigns. As of recording this, I still haven't 100% decided what campaign I'm going to do. I know I had put up that poll, and that's definitely going to influence my decision. I don't know that necessarily I'm going to choose the Legendary Lord that was #1 on that poll. For those of you who did not catch that, if you click on my channel, go over to the Community tab, you'll see I have a poll up. I believe it's still open. You can still vote on it. That's asking which Legendary Lord you guys would like me to play for a campaign. So let me know in the comments down below, or of course you can go on over to that poll if you haven't already. Just keep in mind though that even the top voted, I might not necessarily choose. Like if everyone and their dog is doing that campaign and I just feel like doing something else, I probably am going to do something else. But you know, your decision will definitely influence me. Like very likely I won't pick whatever's the bottom choice on that particular poll, but nonetheless, very fun battle. Thank you very much once again to Gojira for playing that with me. And yeah, just in terms of the battle, you can see the zombies got trashed as expected, but really Harkon and the deck gunners, or the deck droppers rather, doing the work. The deck gunners, actually, the Shade Wraith gunners, they did okay. You know, they kind of did their job of routing off a few units here and there, but not as much as I would have liked. They are a relatively expensive unit. But hey, I mean, they did occupy those chariots and some of the other units for a bit of time. But yeah, Luther Harkon, 132. He's definitely the MVP here. The crabs, too, holding out on the ground. They were key role players here, certainly, in being able to tank the damage, you know, on foot. Had Gojira maybe brought some armor-piercing troops, it may have been a different story, but because it was primarily non-armor-piercing damage here, besides, like, the spider, and the archers, and primarily non-armor piercing damage, so the crabs were able to hold out very well there. And the gunnery wight getting the extra powder, I believe he threw that on the deck droppers, and of course the fleet captain providing that supreme lore of vampires, just OP, you know, Invocation of the Heck. And you know, I say OP, it's the factions are supposed to be balanced around it, but that Invocation of the Heck and the Dance Macabre constantly throwing out overcast versions of both, and it was wildly effective, as you guys saw. They were able to hold out there on the ground long enough for the Air Force to get the work down. So yeah, the Royal Vampire Counts airstrikes, sorry, Vampire Coast airstrikes, definitely winning the day here. And once again, like I said before, I'm going to have to theory craft around this matchup a little bit to try and find really the ideal way to go about fighting the Vampire Coast as the Greenskins, but something tells me it's going to have to do with a lot of goblins and a lot of Vanguard and just running in like mad immediately, so they don't have a chance to stop you from casting Wah. But that's a discussion for another day. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. If you found it interesting and informative, be sure to share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.